Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Iron Torch 20, and we welcome you to my next LP, and that is going to be the Flintstones Surprise at Dinosaur Peak. This was made by Tato, and surprisingly, this was a game that never had a release on home consoles. I don't really know why, but I'm guessing that had to do with delays in releasing this game for the NES that eventually led it to only be ported to certain video stores like Blockbuster Video. And nowadays it is now known more as a collector's item. But this is also a very good game. But either way, the basic plot of the game is that Fred and Barney are trying to find their kids, Pebbles and Bam Bam. And I mean, that's just usual stuff for the Flintstones universe. Which I haven't really seen that many episodes of it lately. I mean, I am familiar with all the characters and how everything goes in that show, but I don't know, I just haven't seen it in a while. So now Fred and Barney have to work together to find those kids. So let's just get into this. The first stage does a good job introducing you to the mechanics of this game. The controls are much tighter in this game than they were in the first game. There's not as much sliding, and also Fred can pull himself up a lot quicker from ledges, and he has been hitting the gym lately. He also has his club that you can use and charge up. And the big change to this game is that if you press select, you can play as Barney. Barney has a slingshot, and he is going to be used to climb ropes, whereas Fred is going to be used to climb ledges. And that is one thing this game does a really good job of, is that making you use Fred and Barney and make sure that they work together in order to get past the stage. Because Barney can climb those ropes, whereas Fred can't. And then Fred can also climb ledges where Barney can't. And there are also plenty of health refills. The heart is a heart container. You can have a max up to 5 hearts. Things like apples do give you an extra heart. And then meat helps Fred because it extends his power meter, so he can also hit harder with his club. And also there are plenty of extra lives to be had in this stage. I mean, not in this stage, but in this game in general. Let's see, yeah, I just wanted to trigger that guy. Let's see, one thing I should also talk about is that, well, unfortunately, getting stunned is back too. But you collect these stars. If you every time you spell Yabba Dabba Doo, you get an extra life. So that is something to remember. And also, sub-weapons do make a return in this game. Let's see, I don't think we're gonna get to those until the next stage. Let's see, all we're doing here is just climbing up these dragons and then just finishing the stage. And that is something that the Flintstones universe does a lot, is that you do have to use certain dinosaurs for doing certain tasks, like, I know in the beginning Fred uses like a dinosaur for a crane or something. I mean, that's just something they do in the intro. But now we're getting to the central plot of this game, and that's that now there's a volcano eruption, and Pebbles and Bam Bam are trapped. So now what we gotta do is that, I mean, this is just the basic plot of this game, and either way, the plots in games like this aren't really something that need to be taken seriously. I mean, this was a cartoon in the 60s. And of course, Gazoo makes a return. Unfortunately, you don't get the special powers that you got in the first game, like the flying function or the big jump or those kind of things. But you still can, let's see, get different power-ups in this game, which is one thing that this game does a great job of. So now we know that we have to meet up with a fire dinosaur in order to get them to stop the lava. I mean, I don't really know how a dinosaur can do that, but I don't know. This is a Flintstones game after all, not meant to be taken seriously. This is a game that's better for a more relaxing time. And also, this game does have great atmosphere, and then pretty good graphics for the NES, and the music's also very solid too. Which is something that Taito games were always very good with. So now we get our map for this game, and you just get your occasional stage, and those stadiums are when you can play for different power-ups. So here we are in the first actual stage, and basically what this is that the game does have a pretty decent progression when it comes to difficulty, and also sub-weapons do make a return, and of course they work the same ways they did in the first game, and also the same ways in Castlevania. Okay, I guess... Okay, well, that monkey decided to screw with my timing. And this is a game where you definitely want to explore. And also just remember to jump off of gators for some reason. With these guys, if you jump off with Barney, you do get more air, seeing as how Barney's smaller than Fred. So that is something that does help to know. And now we got max hearts. What we're gonna do is just get rid of these things. And then we're just gonna whack this guy out of here. Well, at least when I can hit him. And now that that's done with, let's just go ahead and progress more. And that's what I do like about this game, is that this game does have some really good atmosphere, and it does a really good job of capturing, I guess, the essence of the Flintstones and their universe. And of course we just got some more platforming puzzles. Which the platforming in this game is actually pretty well done. I mean, there's nothing too complicated about it, and this is also a very simple game and easy to pick up and play. But if we go up here with Barney, and yes, it has to be Barney only, we can get access to a bonus stage. And basically it's just catch the stars. I mean, nothing too complex about it. I mean, you do have to carefully follow with your eyes just where the stars are going, just so you can collect some more stuff, which is always good. I mean, game overs aren't really that big a deal, but this is one of those games where you do lose all your power-ups every time you get a game over. So that is just something to know. And right when those stars run out, there's going to be a giant burger that drops, and that is going to give you a full power with Fred, so when he's at full power, he can charge up his club and then make a shockwave with it. Which is going to be great, because in this game, Fred is just a boss destroyer, so for the most part you want to use Fred on the bosses. And then when you have him at full power, he can just destroy bosses like it's nothing. And usually that's how this game goes, is that Fred does most of the heavy hitting, and then Barney's there for most of the platforming. And also, since he does have a long-range weapon, he is also very useful for getting rid of enemies at a distance. But now to show off one of the stadium games. And basically what we're doing is just playing a hockey game against this jerk. So what we have to do is that we have to just make sure that we deliver the checks, and then you can bump them just like in the previous game. But I find these games a little bit harder than they were in the first game, just because you don't have a huge speed advantage over the guy. And also that you do get shorter time. And you do play these things in halves, so Fred is going to take the first half and Barney's going to take the second half. I actually do have trouble with a basketball game in this game, but I mean, I don't really have that much trouble with the hockey game. And that's pretty much how this is going to go, is that you're going to end up getting hit, and then you just have to fire a shot just before you do. And that's normally how this game goes. I mean, nothing too complicated. Although, speaking of which, I might want to do a one-off of Ike Ike Neketsu Hockey, which was actually supposed to be Crash and the Boys Ice Challenge. Except that one actually never made it over to the US, which is unfortunate because that's a really fun game too. Okay, you get hit. And the tricky part about this is you just have to get the timing right as to when the dinosaur has his mouth open. Just so that's how you score. And then fortunately I can use the angles to my advantage, which is one thing that does make this game a lot easier. And now that that's done with, I don't really have a clear grasp as to what the prizes are, but I think what they are is that they let you keep some of the power, or some of the power meter, or some of the, I think the sub-weapon meter that you have until you get a game over. Because every time you die it does shrink a little bit, but it doesn't, you don't lose all the power completely. I don't know, I don't think I explained that very well, but basically the power meter does go down, but it doesn't reset all the way to the beginning, or you don't lose all your power-ups. And then there is also something else we can get up to 5 for that sub-weapon power. So we just have to carefully maneuver around here. And this game does have a pretty decent progression when it comes to difficulty. I mean, that first stage was pretty easy, but after that, the game's gonna get a little bit harder, and then a lot harder at the end. Okay, that's a power-up I wanted. Let's see, for this part I do want to handle with Barney because he is shorter, and that does make me a lot less nervous, because in this game, whenever you get stunned, that's more than enough time for you to either fall into a pit or have something else kill you. Which, without doubt, we are definitely going to see those near the end of the game. Let's see, here's just a card section, and I do have some trouble with this part just because there are a lot of those goddamn bats, and there are also a lot of tricky jumps to make. See, like that one I could have gotten an extra life, but to be honest with you, even in practice runs, I never really figured out how to do that section without dying. Yeah, we just gotta jump. And they are generous enough to give you a full health restore. But with this boss, we do want to use Barney on him, because this is not the kind of boss that Fred's short-range fighting can handle. So we're just gonna let Barney's long range just do the damage. And also the thing with those sub-weapons is that the meter does run out eventually if you use it too many times, but it does restore at a pretty decent rate. Now with that said, that is 3 stages down. So let's see. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call the video here, so join me next time as we make it to the other side and hopefully get to the end before we make it to Dinosaur Peak. I will see you then.